Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. Today we're doing a little video on the 8.2.6 path. This won't include the Bahamut boss. That will be in tomorrow's video, as that video is about 20 minutes long, because he'll be explaining each phase and all of that. So obviously this is going to be the path. Every path ends up to the boss anyway, but this in my opinion is the easiest path. It's maybe not the easiest one on nodes, but it does give Bahamut no extra nodes, like no extra sort of things that make him a bit more difficult. For example, I did take a path earlier on, and it was one where his volatility was no longer permanent. You had to knock him down to make it permanent. That one was a real pain, and for your first time fighting him, you really don't need that. So I would try and get used to this path. This path has a few annoying things about it. It does take a while to get used to, but once you're used to it, it's not too bad. It's all about bringing in skill champs, as they have that passive fury on them, and then every time one of their non-energy or whenever their debuffs end, you get fury, up to 10 furies, and that's where you do an absolute ton of damage. You can see here with a rank 1 Black Cat. So really, you don't necessarily need lots of rank 3s and 4s for this part if you've got lots of skill champs. So let's jump into what the nodes are and who sort of the best counters are for them. So we've got Punishment Glutton, which is quite a strange node. We see it all the time, and it's actually really good. Don't know why I said it's strange, that's because I'm getting confused with the second one. But Punishment Glutton is skilled champs gain of permanent fury of 35% each time a debuff expires. So we would have seen this before on, I believe, 7.4.5, I think it was. And then also 8.1.3, I think, where skill attackers are really the main goal here. Skill attackers, you put a lot of debuffs in. Followed by Haunted, where this one is the one that you really need to get used to. Every time the defender dashes back, they gain you gain a falter debuff, causing you to miss. This lasts for 3 seconds, and they also convert all debuffs into furies. You saw there with the Jane Foster, or I'll show it better in a second, where whenever the attacker dashes back, and say if you've put 4 bleeds on Sentry or Thor Jane Foster, whoever it may be, or any of these defenders, obviously, they gain that many furies. So if you've got 10 bleeds on them, they dash back, they get 10 furies. So obviously hitting into your block, then you just got to be really careful that, while the fault is on, you're not you're not causing them to dash back too often, but also that they're not hitting you, because that would do an absolute ton of damage. The other tricky part that we have here is that with that falter, if you hit into it, all damage is reflected, so you can't bring in a Nick Fury, a Hercules, whoever it, your miss counter is, Professor X, as you will take all of that damage back. So it's really just about waiting out the Fury, trapping them into the corner, putting as many debuffs down as possible, and then building up the Furies. Finally, we've got 2 last nodes. We've got Bolster, which does mean that this has to be bleeds or poisons from your skill champs. This is because Bolster, the attacker gains an energy resistance buff of 90%, so a massive energy resistance buff every time you inflict an energy debuff. So shocks do not work, so Black Widow Deadly Origin doesn't count. Mole Man's shock on his SP1, although that doesn't matter too much. You can still use Mole Man, but really it is that big Black Widow Deadly Origin that I've got. I tried to use her even with those Furies. She's doing hardly any damage because all her attacks are in fact energy. So really it's just about bringing in those physical champs. Nick Fury is a good one for this, although you do need to be careful with that falter, that you're not taking that damage back. Black Cat, Black Panther was really good. I took mine up to maxed out rank 2, and he absolutely smashed it. You'll see that in these fights a little later on. He was really good. Mole Man is another one who's really, really good. So Gwenpool was also quite one you could use, although maybe she's not a champ you've got ranked up. So really, Black Panther, Black Cat, Mole Man, Nick Fury, all these champs inflicting quite heavy bleeds are really effective here. Finally, Brutal Refresher, which is just the last little node that isn't too big an issue, which is every time you knock the champ down, you get they gain an energize buff of 25%. So you've just got to be careful that you're not accidentally pushing them to their SP3 when they've got that energize on. You just got to be careful of their real careful of their power bar. But once you get used to these fights, it's not too big a problem. I would say the hardest fight on here is in fact this Black Widow, this Invisible Woman, just because she constantly goes invisible, and obviously Nick Fury would be a good counter for this, for sure. But it's more about making sure you don't sort of have that falter back. Obviously, Invisible Woman isn't too tricky to fight against. She can, like Black Cat takes her out here, I believe, or at least takes out some of her. You end up taking, apparently she doesn't take her out, but she is definitely one of the harder bosses here. The harder defenders, just because she goes invisible. But you bring in somebody who does a lot of damage. That invisibility doesn't last very long. Really, the tricky part of this whole path is just remembering about the falter. I'd also, like I said at the beginning of the video, just want to reiterate that the boss fight won't be at this one. It will be a whole separate guide coming out tomorrow, or maybe the day after, dependent on what, because obviously tomorrow, or I'm recording this on a Tuesday, Wednesday will be the day of new content. So if there's any videos I need to upload for that, what the story quest is, that might come out. But I'm going to try and get them out relatively quickly. So they're obviously the good counters that we've gone through. The Black Cats, Mole Man, Nick Fury, Black Panther. Lots of good skill attackers. Obviously they gain the Fury, so they are probably best for this. You can go in and bring, your other champs who you enjoy using, but I would probably recommend the skills just because of the amount of damage they can do with that Fury. You think if it's 35% per Fury, and you can have a max of 10, that's 350% extra attack that you're doing, which is so much. You can see Black Panther that in some of these fights will be critting for around 11k. I'd also just say you've got to be wary of the Tigra. She's not so much annoying, rather than she sometimes doesn't throw her special attacks, which can be really frustrating, especially if you're sort of trying to take her out relatively quickly, or you don't want to get hit by her SP2. Just want to keep her to her SP1, let her throw that, and it shouldn't be too big an issue. Hopefully this video has helped you guys out. Hopefully it's made you guys aware what the easiest path is, who good counters are for this path. Remember, keep getting them into the corner and making them, making it impossible for them to dash back does really make it easier for you. You'll see in the Venom the Duck video in a second that I'm really pinning him against the wall. So you are able to do it quite easily. But yeah, that's probably going to do it for this video. I'll see you in the boss fight tomorrow. If you've got any questions, please do leave them in the comments below. These are your best counters. Just one last note. Remember that the Bahamut boss, skill champs who shrug, or champs who shrug in general, like King Groot is also another skill champ who does shrug. But your Kingpins, your Shang-Chis, your Valkyries are really effective. So maybe try and avoid bringing them in, or bring one of them in but don't use them, so that when you get to that Bahamut fight, you've got two good options, whether it be Kingpin and Shang-Chi, or Kingpin and Black Panther, or Shang-Chi and Valkyrie. Just make sure you've got a few there to save you some units. But once you get used to that Bahamut fight, it's not too big an issue. That video will be out following this one very, very soon. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching. I look forward to seeing you guys in the Bahamut boss. Hopefully this has helped. Any questions or queries, leave it in the comments below. And, yeah, see you guys in tomorrow's video. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.